Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to decode and talk about one of the topic or one of the new strategy that many organizations are adopting, right? So what is that strategy and what topic it is basically, right? So it's a cloud strategy, right? And how companies are adopting different clouds, or what are the reasons, what are the scenarios, what are the approaches, and what are the real world example for all of this, right? So I'm going to talk all of that in this specific video. This is going to be PowerPoint presentation again, right? But to give you a complete clarity, this is going to help you to understand what is this all about, right? You might have heard about multi-cloud, right? And multi-cloud is something we are seeing a lot. Many companies and many organizations and businesses are relying on it. They are definitely using different cloud platforms for different products, projects, and everything together, right? There's no simple reason for it, or one fit for all kind of things, right? But still, definitely, every company is adopting and using different cloud platforms for different requirements or different projects, basically, right? Now, to do that or to use that, we have seen, as I said, multi-cloud platform is something that every organization adopting, but it is similar way, and it is something the same way, which is a concept or a strategy, I would say, instead of concept, which is a poly-cloud strategy, right? So let's decode it. Let me share my screen here on the presentation mode, and I'm going to walk you through, right? So, right. Okay. Perfect. So this is the polycloud strategy, right? Which I'm going to talk about scenarios, approach, and just a simple definition as well, just to understand what is it and how it really works, right? So let's jump on. So to understand it better, what is polycloud, right? So polycloud means you would see a multiple cloud platforms or providers for a different workloads based on their strengths and needs and requirements, basically, right? Now, you might have seen and used many companies, as I said, many companies are adopting different cloud platforms for different requirements. Now, you might say there is no difference between multi-cloud as well as poly-cloud, right? Definitely, there is nothing much, or there is no difference. But if you have to differentiate it in a way where you wanted to make it separate, including the different workloads and their strengths, right? So strengths is something that is a main differentiator here across the different cloud platforms, including AWS, Azure, GCP, and many others as well, right? So we cannot say that, okay, this platform is something like it does not have the right set of policies or services. Definitely, we can take and look at their strengths and whether that strength or that capability is going to help us to spin up the workloads, use those for our business and needs. Then definitely that's a unique one instead of other platform, right? So definitely it is going to be unique and different for each base or workload. That is going to be the unique for each one. Now, what are the reasons which is going to be based of breed adoption? That means it's going to be unique and different for each use case, where the second is we would be avoiding the vendor lock-in, where we don't really have to rely on any single platform, so that we have options to move when there are different needs and requirements, right? Specialized workloads wherever each platform has different services, including Azure infrastructure as service, platform as service, or software as service, right? Now, each platform do provide all of that one, but definitely those are unique in nature. Those are unique in many different capabilities, including performance, resiliency, security, compliance, and everything together, right? And that is why we have different platforms, or those are available, and in combination of all of that is going to be the poly cloud together. So which is going to help us to avoid vendor lock-in as well, and specialized workload that we can bring on and can be using. Now, here is the bit description about the or differences, basically polycloud versus multi-cloud, right? So polycloud, which is different providers for different workloads, which is in specialization, basically. And in the multi-cloud, you would see the same workloads across multiple providers, where we would see the redundancy, right? So you can see and understand it better when we wanted to go with either specialization or redundancy, right? Now, many companies do have adopted multi-cloud because of redundancy and similar capabilities that they wanted to move ahead and use it. But when it comes to the specialization, then polycloud is going to be the one where they would use all different platforms or different providers, service providers, but on the specialized services, on the specialized capabilities, right? And that is why you can see the main differentiator over here in this bit, in these two capabilities, or in these two capabilities of cloud platforms, right? For example, you can see the polycloud in the AWS has AI, Azure has Microsoft 365, GCP has analytics. On the multi-cloud, it is going to be hosting on the same web app in AWS and Azure for high availability, right? Something like that. So definitely there is going to be the differentiator. You would see the detail understanding on each of those, and better to describe or better to differentiate, and then that can be adopted. How does poly cloud works basically? Where you can see the workload placements based on service provider strengths or the provider strengths, right? As I said, it's going to be a specialization, right? That means whatever the service or capability that we are going to use, that's going to be based on their strengths, whether they have the capabilities that we as a company or business are looking for. If yes, then they are the choice of provider that either we can go with, and if not, then we would look for other options, and we can also look for options to integrate those system platforms together, so that that can also help us in building solution for our needs basically, right? Similarly, on the integrations versus APIs and networking, including express routes and direct connects, on the centralized governance, identity access management, monitoring, and compliance capabilities, automation with Terraform, Ansible, and cost management with FinOps tools or FinOps capabilities, right? So that's how it is going to be. And as I said, it's purely based on the specialization. So definitely each of these are the pillars. We can say those can be mapped as needed when to classify and make their platform as differentiator, basically. So that's how it is going to be differentiated and then validated and verified and can be adopted. So why polycloud, right? There would be a question, instead of relying or using multi-cloud, why we should go with, or why we should adopt polycloud, right? So you can see some of the reasons or considerations I would say to go with, which is avoid vendor lock-in, right? Best-in-class services, our cost optimization, regulatory compliance on the data residency and all other resiliency and agility. So to start with, avoid vendor lock-in. That means each cloud provider do provide different services, and those would be similar and many situations or many capabilities along with the scenarios that we are going to use, right? At the same time, they would also have the capabilities to either comply with the particular regulations or security and compliance and everything together. And there would also be customized capabilities that we can build on our own and that can be used for the business, right? Best in class, definitely. As I said, they do have different services, different capabilities, and those are unique in nature. So that means that's going to be different, along with the cost optimization ways, how we can adopt the cost optimization along with the way to manage and handle instead of spiling up the costs, right? Along with a regulatory compliance for data residency and resiliency and agility. That is also possible to make sure we use it. Here we see real world scenarios, including finance, retail, healthcare, and gaming industries, basically. And you can see each platform is being used on different industries or different platforms under the hood of platforms, right? So, for example, AWS is being used for trading, Azure for CRM, GCP for fraud detection analytics or fraud analytics, right? For retail, we are using Azure, AWS for e-commerce, and GCP for personalization. Healthcare, Azure does have a lot of capabilities. AWS has genomics capabilities, and GCP has AI imaging capabilities. Similarly, on the gaming platforms where AWS hosts gaming platforms and gives the capabilities to make the platforms ready for performance, efficient, security, compliance, and everything together. Azure has Xbox and GCP has player analytics, right? So to understand it better, you can go through this one and understand way where each platform is unique, right? They do provide different capabilities to be a differentiator as well as how we can adopt. For example, if we have to adapt a trading or maybe we have to go with the trading capabilities that we are going to build or maybe we have something already baked, we wanted to move from there, definitely we can move to the cloud platform and definitely that's going to be the choices of product or service that we are going to use, right? So that way is going to be something that we would decide and go with that. Then approaches for polycloud to adopt, right? So what are the one or what are those? So you can see starting from service specific approach, business unit approach, geographic approach, cost optimization approach, and innovation driven approach. Now you will go through it, you will understand and decide whether what is it that you are looking for, right? So whether you wanted to go with a service specific approach to adopt polycloud, whether it is cost optimization, whether it is innovation driven. Now, there are different scenarios again. It cannot be the only one approach to go with, right? Definitely, whenever it is in the business or whenever it is decided whether we should go with all of these or one. But the main driver here is to think and analyze and decide whether we should or whatever we are looking for. Do we want to innovate something which is innovation driven approach and then whether that platform is going to give us capabilities that we wanted to build from scratch or that should be something unique, right? Because each platform is different and is specialized in its own capabilities and features, right? Now cost similarly on the cost optimization, so cost optimization could be uh, same thing across the different platforms because each platform has their own capabilities when it comes to the cost and capabilities, right? And those are dependent on cost as well, right? So if we are paying certain costs, that means it has a capability to pay a certain cost, right? So that's how it is going to be defined and understand and decided whether to adopt one or it should be one. But it is not going to be again one fit for all, right? Instead, it is going to be something that every adoption or requirement would be to adopt everything at the same time. The challenges in the polycloud, definitely there would be different challenges as well to mitigate, right? So including complex governance, skills gap across the service providers, increased cost if it is unmanaged, right, appropriately, right? Security risks from fragmented policies and all of that capabilities, integration complexity, right? So these are the five I have mentioned here, but there could be many more when you try to adopt and move ahead with it. So starting from complex governance, definitely you would have to be completely regularized as well as from governance perspective, from security perspective, and compliance as well, right? You need to adopt it and you have to look for ways how you can bring that into the compliant or compliance. Then skill gap, definitely if you don't have the skilled and expert level people, definitely that's going to be the skill gap and no one would be able to go ahead and work and help and build that whatever the location or whatever the capability that you are looking to build. Then third is increased cost if unmanaged. Definitely each cloud platform is going to be a different, unique from cost perspective from all other capabilities as well. So that is something definitely need to manage appropriately so that cost is not piling up and it's not going to be unmanaged so that you would not end up spending a lot of money. Security risk from this fragmented policies. That means if you don't have or don't configure and set up appropriately, that means definitely there is a security risk as well. So that's something a shared responsibility model between any cloud vendors or any cloud providers between you and them, right? And then integration complexity. So many platforms do have different integration capabilities. They do provide with the cloud to cloud platform or on premises or hybrid to cloud, right? So definitely those are something that you need to look into and consider whether which one is going to help you for your needs and requirements. Best practices. Here you can see these are the best practices that are managed and can be integrated and are available to. Starting from centralized identity access management, FinOps for cost optimization, infrastructure as a code for uh, infrastructure as a code standardization for deployments and provisioning capabilities, multi-cloud observability for making sure the systems and everything are monitored and been taken the proactive approaches to be able to manage effectively, right? And a regulatory alignment, right? So that's also important for these kind of situations and scenarios where we can bring on. So these are the best practices that I've mentioned over here. So polycloud example, you can see from AWS, Azure, GCP, compute and hosting within AWS, enterprise apps and identity across Azure, and GCP Analytics AI/ML. Not only this, but there are so many different capabilities or different services that we can go ahead and spin up and use it across different requirements, including data and apps flows secure across the providers, including APIs, networking, and identity access management. So this is just an example to understand it better, right? And there's one of the case study that I have put in place. For example, Azure for ERP and CRM services that you can go ahead and use it. And AWS is for customer facing e-commerce application that is available and that we can spin up there. GCP BigQuery for personalized and analytics capabilities. So the basic outcome or the outcome of this is going to be optimized cost, improved customer experience, and agility in scaling. So you can see that how you can differentiate polycloud in short with all of these platforms together. And in summary, you can see the polycloud equal to, or to understand it better, strategic use of multiple providers for specialized workloads, right? So specialized workload, that means you are going to focus on specialization here and not the redundancy. So you need to keep that in mind and remember, or maybe you can just understand it better way to how polycloud is going to help and work basically, right? So that way you need to make sure you understand it. And then other considerations as well to avoid lock-in, best services per providers, cost and compliance benefits as well, right? But it needs a strong governance skills and FinOps disciplines that you are going to build or you need in order to make sure you meet all of that capabilities, including governance, security, compliance, skills or skilled workforce or people are also needed. And then FinOps discipline. Why? Because there is a factor of cost as well, right? So cost would keep increasing and piling up if those are not managed appropriately, right? So, yep. So that is what I wanted to talk and show you and walk you through about this one. And even if this looks a new topic for you or new concept, but definitely it has something definitely to work on and is available. And as I said, multi-cloud is adopted and is being used. Similarly, polycloud is also being used for many different requirements and businesses. So let me know if you have seen someone is using this one and companies are adopting it. And if you have any questions, any doubts, and happy to collaborate and answer those, right? So yeah, don't forget to like this video, share it to your friends, and subscribe to the channel as well so that you get to see every new video whenever it is uploaded. So yeah, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and bye for now.